Devastating hook. There are things that happen in the cold hallways of a hospital that medicine cannot explain. My name is Helena Marie Anderson. I am 65 years old, and I have spent 43 years of my life caring for premature babies in the neonatal ICU. I have seen thousands of miracles. I have witnessed hundreds of tragedies. But what I saw in the early morning of November 2014 made me question everything I learned about life, death, and love. It was 2:27 in the morning when I heard the metallic creak. When I looked up, I saw something that should be impossible. Baby Ethan's incubator was moving on its own, rocking from side to side, as if invisible hands were rocking a cradle. The baby, who minutes before was crying desperately, was now sleeping soundly with a smile on his face. And then I felt it. The unmistakable scent of lavender floating in the cold air of the ICU. His mother's favorite perfume. The mother who had died 15 hours earlier, without ever having been able to hold her son in her arms. If you believe that love can be stronger than death, subscribe to this channel now and turn on the bell. Because what you are about to hear in the next few minutes will forever change the way you see life. Leave a comment at the end telling me, have you ever felt the presence of someone who has already passed away?
Let me tell you how it all began. I was born in 1960, in a small town called Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. My family was simple. My father was a carpenter, my mother a seamstress. We didn't have money, but we had love. And it was this love that taught me the value of caring for people. When I was 7, my younger sister, Carolyn, was born premature. 32 weeks. It was 1967, and neonatal medicine was very primitive. Caroline spent weeks in the hospital, in an incubator that looked like a metal and glass box. I couldn't go into the ICU, so I stood in the hallway with my father, waiting for news, watching the nurses come and go. And it was there, in that cold hallway, that my calling was born. Caroline survived. She grew up healthy and strong. But that experience marked my childhood forever. I studied hard. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I graduated as a nurse in 1982. And since then, I have dedicated my life to caring for the smallest and most fragile. The babies who fight for their lives from the very first second. Nobody prepares you for the first time you lose a patient. They teach you techniques, procedures, protocols. But they don't teach you how to deal with the emptiness that remains. My first loss was a boy named Joshua. He was only 3 days old. He was born with a severe heart malformation. The doctors did everything they could. But sometimes, it's just not enough. I was in the room when he passed. It was a Tuesday morning, around 6 o'clock. The dawn light coming through the window. The monitors beeped, that sharp, continuous sound that every healthcare professional learns to fear, and then, silence. I cried in the hospital bathroom for almost half an hour. I thought about giving up. Going back to my hometown, working at my uncle's store, living a simple life without this pain. But then I remembered Caroline, the nurses who took care of her with such dedication. And I realized that if I gave up at the first hurdle, I would be betraying everything that had brought me there. Over the following decades, I worked in several hospitals along the East Coast of the United States. I went through New York, Baltimore, Washington. Each place taught me something different. In New York, I learned to work under extreme pressure. In Baltimore, I learned about empathy. In Washington, I learned about health policies. But it was in Boston, at St. Mary's Children's Hospital, that my life would change forever. In 2013, at 53 years old, I was hired by St. Mary's. It was a senior position in the neonatal ICU, finally. After 3 decades working in various sectors, I was exactly where I wanted to be, caring for the smallest and most vulnerable. My shift was from 7 at night to 7 in the morning. I always preferred working at night. There's something about night shifts that appeals to me. For the first few months, everything was very routine. Until the signs began. It was March of 2014. I was caring for a 32-week preemie named Emma. It was about 3 in the morning. The ICU was particularly quiet. I was filling out charts when I heard something that made me stop immediately. A female voice. Soft, melodious. Singing a lullaby. Hush little baby, don't say a word, ... I looked up, alert. 3:17 in the morning. No mothers were visiting at this hour. I walked to the ICU. The room was immersed in twilight. But there was no one there but me and the 5 babies. The sound had stopped. I walked among the incubators. Everything normal. Until I got to Emma's. She was sleeping soundly. And the blanket that I was sure I had left dropped by her side was now perfectly tucked over her. My heart raced. There was something different in the air. Warmer. As if love were floating. If you're enjoying this story, leave a likey now, because what comes next will give you goosebumps. November 6, 2014. A date that will be etched in my memory forever. It was a cold Wednesday. There was a storm, one of those heavy, persistent rains. I arrived at the hospital at 6:45 in the evening. The previous shift handed over the cases. We had 7 babies admitted, and a newcomer. Ethan Miller. Extreme premature, 29 weeks, said Jennifer, my colleague. Arrived today at 5:20 in the afternoon. Birth weight, 1,100 grams. Emergency delivery. Mother transferred to Massachusetts General Hospital with severe postpartum complications. What kind of complications? I asked. Massive hemorrhage. Undiagnosed placenta accreta. The situation was critical. They had to choose between stabilizing the baby or staying with the mother. The obstetrician decided the baby had a better chance here. Any family here? Jennifer shook her head. No one yet. The social worker is on it. Another baby alone. I took over the shift at 7 in the evening. I left Ethan for last. His incubator was positioned in the corner, under the window. I approached slowly. He was so small, so incredibly fragile. Translucent skin, eyes squeezed shut, sensors on his tiny chest. Hi, Ethan, I whispered. I'm Helena. I'm going to take care of you tonight, okay? I checked his vital signs. Everything stable, but fragile. I adjusted the therapeutic nest around him. You are strong, I whispered. Your mother is fighting too. You two are going to be fine. I had no idea how wrong I was. The shift was quiet until midnight. Sarah, my closest colleague, arrived at 11 at night. At 1:15 in the morning, Sarah went to rest. Dr. Patterson was in the break room. I was alone in the ICU. The rain continued. The wind howled outside. I did my 2 o'clock rounds. All the babies were sleeping peacefully. Except for Ethan. He was restless. Whimpering softly. I checked everything. Clean diaper, normal temperature. Vital signs stable, but his heart rate was high. It wasn't time for medication yet. Sometimes premature babies get like this. I tried to soothe him, but nothing worked. It was 2:27 in the morning when it happened. I was filling out charts when I heard the sound. A metallic creak. Faint, but unmistakable. The sound was coming from Ethan's incubator. I stood up, my heart racing. I walked to the door, and I saw it. Ethan's incubator was moving. It wasn't a vibration. It wasn't the building shaking. It was a deliberate, gentle, rhythmic movement. A rocking from side to side, as if someone were rocking a cradle. I was paralyzed, just watching. The movement was so delicate, so careful, and Ethan had completely calmed down. He was sleeping soundly, his little face relaxed. I forced my legs to move. I approached slowly. When I got close, the movement stopped. But that wasn't all. The blanket I had left beside him now covered him perfectly. Tucked in with extreme care. My mouth was dry. I placed my hand on the incubator, motionless, cold to the touch. But the air around it. The air was warm. It wasn't the heat from the incubator. It was an external, enveloping warmth. Like when you hug someone you love. And then I smelled the scent. Lavender. Faint, but unmistakable. Mixed with baby powder. It was comforting. Maternal hello, I whispered into the empty air. I know you're there. Silence, just the monitors and the rain. But then, so soft it could have been my imagination, but it wasn't. I felt something brush against my hand. It wasn't a physical touch. It was more like a concentrated warmth passing over my fingers. Like an invisible caress. Tears welled up in my eyes. It wasn't fear. It was love. A love so intense, it was impossible not to be moved. You're his mother, I whispered. Aren't you? No answer, but the air pulsed, as if something had silently confirmed it. Subscribe now, if you want to know what happened next. Turn on the notification bell, because this story is just beginning. I stood there for long minutes, just watching Ethan sleep. For the first time, he seemed truly at peace. The monitor showed his best vital signs since admission. When I finally stepped away, I whispered, "Thank you for taking care of him. I promise I'll do the same." The rest of the night passed in a daze. At 4 a.m, Sarah returned. She looked at me and immediately knew something had happened. "Helena, you're pale. What happened?" I looked around. I saw it, Sarah. I saw the incubator move. The blanket being adjusted. I felt her. The presence. She was taking care of Ethan. Sarah's eyes widened. The new baby. I nodded. His mother was transferred with complications. He's here alone, but he's not. She's with him, Sarah. I'm sure of it. The shift ended at 7 a.m. I went home exhausted, but unable to sleep. Was I going crazy? But Sarah had felt it in other cases too. It wasn't just me. I returned to the hospital at 6:30 in the evening. Jennifer was finishing her shift. When she saw me, her face was serious. "Helena, Dr. Richards wants to talk to you." "It's about Ethan." My stomach tightened. I went to her office. Dr. Richards greeted me with a grave expression. "Helena, sit down please." I sat, my hands sweaty. "What happened?" She sighed heavily. "We just received communication from Massachusetts General Hospital about Ethan Miller's mother, Amanda Miller, 28 years old." I felt the world slow down. She didn't make it, Helena. She passed away today at 11:37 in the morning. Massive hemorrhage. They did everything. But she went into shock and had multiple cardiac arrests. They couldn't revive her. The words took seconds to arrange themselves in my mind. Amanda Miller died at 11:37 in the morning. More than 15 hours before I saw the incubator move. More than 15 hours before I felt that maternal presence. I thanked her and left in shock. I went back to the ICU. Sarah was there. When she saw me, she knew. "You found out," she said. "She died this morning, Sarah." 15 hours before I saw that. Sarah held my hand. "So now you know." She came to say goodbye. Or to make sure he would be okay. We went to Ethan's incubator. He was sleeping, more stable than ever. It was as if he knew his mother had been there, that she hadn't abandoned him. Leave a comment now, telling me, Do you believe that love can transcend death? After discovering Amanda's death, Sarah and I made a decision. We were going to observe, document everything. The next night, Thursday, November 7th, we arrived with a new notebook. Personal, hidden. The following 3 nights were extraordinary. The pattern repeated itself with precision. Thursday, at 15 minutes past midnight, the incubator shook again. Sarah and I were both present. Duration, 2 minutes. Ethan calmed down instantly. We smelled the scent of lavender. Friday, at 10 past 3 in the morning, we clearly heard, both of us, a female voice singing a lullaby. Sarah timed it, 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Ethan smiled in his sleep. Saturday, Sarah saw something I didn't. A luminous, hazy form, but with clearly feminine outlines, leaning over the incubator. It lasted for seconds, but it confirmed, it wasn't our imagination. On Sunday, November 10th, something unexpected happened. Michael Chen, one of the oldest technicians at the hospital, approached me. Michael was about 50, Chinese American, Buddhist, and extremely respected. "Helena," he said, sitting next to me. "I need to talk to you, and I ask you to listen without judgment." My heart raced. Could he know? Of course, Michael. What is it? He took a deep breath. I've been at this hospital for 22 years. I've witnessed things that medicine can't explain. Presences, energies, souls that haven't completely departed. I was speechless. I know you and Sarah have noticed things with baby Ethan. Don't ask me how I know. I just know. And I came to tell you that you're not crazy, neither of you. Michael, I started. He raised his hand gently. In Buddhism, we believe that love is a force more powerful than death itself. When someone dies with a deep emotional connection, especially a mother and child, the energy can remain. It's not a ghost. It's more like an energetic impression, an echo of love. Tears rolled down my face. Do you think that's it? Ethan's mother left an energetic impression. I don't think so, Michael said softly. I'm sure of it. I felt it when I passed by his incubator. It's a very strong maternal presence. She's watching over him until she's sure he'll be okay. Then she will depart. How do you know she will depart? Because that's how it works. She has an unfinished task to ensure her son's survival. When it's completed, her energy will naturally dissolve. She will find peace. That conversation changed everything. Michael gave us validation and understanding. The 3 of us started documenting everything in a notebook we called the Invisible Diary. In the 5th week after Ethan's admission, early December, everything changed. Ethan was being prepared for discharge. He had reached a sufficient weight, 2,100 grams, was breathing without assistance, and feeding well. Patricia, his aunt, had completed all the legal processes. She would officially be his guardian. Discharge was scheduled for 2 days later. That night, Wednesday, December 10th, I took over the shift as usual. Ethan was in the incubator, but he no longer needed it for temperature control. It was more of a precaution until discharge. The shift proceeded normally until around 2 in the morning. I was making notes when I felt something different. The air changed. It became denser, heavier. I looked towards the ice. A luminous, very subtle mist hovered over Ethan's incubator. It wasn't my imagination. It was visible. I stood up slowly, my heart racing. Sarah wasn't on shift, but Michael was. I called him quickly. Michael, come here, quick. He came and stood beside me, observing the same scene. She is manifesting more strongly. Something is about to happen. We approached together. The mist had a vaguely human shape. A female silhouette leaning over the incubator. And then, for the first time, we clearly heard a voice. My boy, my little miracle. It wasn't a ghostly, frightening voice. It was soft, maternal, filled with indescribable love. Ethan, who had been sleeping, opened his little eyes, and he smiled. It wasn't a common facial reflex in newborns, but a genuine smile, as if he were seeing something wonderful. Amanda, I whispered, using her name for the first time. He's going to be okay. Patricia loves him. He will have a good life. The mist seemed to pulse, as if listening to me. You can rest now, Michael added gently. Your mission is complete. What happened next was the most beautiful and saddest thing I have ever witnessed. The luminous form leaned in further, as if kissing Ethan's forehead. The baby giggled. A small but clear sound. And then, the presence began to dissipate. Not abruptly. Gradual, gentle, like morning mist dissolving with the sunrise. The scent of lavender intensified for a moment, then disappeared completely. When it was all over, the air was normal again. Ethan was sleeping deeply, a serene smile on his face. Michael and I stood in silence for long minutes. Then he said, "She's gone. She has found peace." Tears were streaming freely down my face. How do you know? Because there's no more weight in the air. There's no more dense energy. She accomplished what she came to do and moved on. If this story is moving you, leave a like now, because the ending will break your heart. On Friday, December 12, 2014, Ethan Miller was discharged. Patricia arrived early, bringing a new car seat, a bag full of clothes, a smile mixed with tears. I helped prepare him to leave. I dressed him in a light blue onesie, adjusted his little hat, and wrapped him in a warm blanket. He was perfect, healthy, strong. He's a fighter, Patricia said, holding him with reverence. Like Amanda, he's more than that, I replied. He is loved, very loved. As I was about to leave, Patricia turned to me. Nurse Helena, thank you for everything. I know you did much more than just medicine. I can feel it. I hugged her. Take good care of him. And when he grows up, tell him about his mother. Tell him she loved him more than anything, even though she never got to hold him physically. I will, she promised. Every day, I watched from the window as Patricia placed Ethan in the car seat. She took her time, adjusting it several times, checking the belt, clearly nervous about the responsibility. When the car left, I felt something. A last breath of warm air, a final trace of lavender, and a feeling of absolute peace, as if someone was telling me, "Thank you." "You're welcome, Amanda," I whispered to the wind. "It was an honor to meet you." 3 years passed. Months turned into years. Sarah, Michael, and I continued our invisible diary. We documented several other cases, each one unique, but all shared the same denominator: love that transcended death. Then, 3 years after Ethan's discharge, I received a message on Facebook from Patricia, Nurse Helena. "I don't know if you remember, but you took care of my nephew Ethan in 2014. He is 3 years old now and would love to meet you. We will be visiting Boston next month. Available for coffee." My heart leaped. Of course, I remembered. How could I forget? We arranged to meet at a cafe near the hospital. When I arrived, I saw Patricia at a table by the window, and next to her, a boy with brown hair and big, curious eyes. Ethan. No longer that tiny, fragile being of 1,100 grams. A healthy, vibrant child, full of energy. When he saw me, Patricia must have said something because he smiled and waved. "Nurse Helena." Patricia stood up, hugged me tightly. "You haven't changed." "And you look beautiful," I replied. but my eyes couldn't stop staring at Ethan. Ethan, Patricia said, kneeling beside him. This is the nurse who took care of you when you were very little. Remember I told you. He nodded seriously, then held out his little hand to me. Thank you for taking care of me when I was a baby. I held his hand, tears forming. It was an honor, Ethan. We spent 2 hours together. Patricia told me about the 3 years. How Ethan was smart, curious, loving. You know what's amazing? Patricia said quietly, as Ethan was distracted with drawing. Sometimes he says strange things. Like, the mommy from heaven came to see me in a dream. Or, the mommy who smells like flowers helps me sleep better. He never knew Amanda, never smelled her lavender scent, but he describes it so precisely. Before we left, Ethan hugged me. And when he did, I felt it again, just for a moment. That scent of lavender. Like if you're moved, the final part will destroy you. On Friday, December 12, 2014, Ethan Miller was discharged. Patricia arrived early, bringing a new car seat, a bag full of little clothes, a smile mixed with tears. I helped prepare him to leave. I dressed him in a light blue onesie, adjusted his little hat, and wrapped him in a warm blanket. He was perfect, healthy, strong. He's a fighter, Patricia said, holding him with reverence, like Amanda. He's more than that, I replied. He is loved, very loved. As I was about to leave, Patricia turned to me. Nurse Helena, thank you for everything. I know you did much more than just medicine. I feel it. I hugged her. Take good care of him. And when he grows up, tell him about his mother. Tell him she loved him more than anything, even though she never got to hold him physically. I will, she promised, every day. I watched from the window as Patricia placed Ethan in the car seat. She took her time, adjusting it several times, checking the belt, clearly nervous about the responsibility. When the car drove away, I felt something. A last puff of warm air, a final trace of lavender, and a feeling of absolute peace, as if someone was telling me, thank you. You're welcome, Amanda, I whispered to the wind. It was an honor to know you. 3 years passed. Months turned into years. Sarah, Michael, and I continued our invisible diary. We documented several other cases, each one unique, but all shared the same denominator: love that transcended death. Then, 3 years after Ethan's discharge, I received a message on Facebook from Patricia, Nurse Helena. I don't know if you remember, but you took care of my nephew Ethan in 2014. He is 3 years old now and would love to meet you. We will be visiting Boston next month, available for coffee. My heart leaped. Of course, I remembered. How could I forget? We arranged to meet at a cafe near the hospital. When I arrived, I saw Patricia at a table by the window, and next to her, a boy with brown hair and big curious eyes. Ethan, no longer that tiny, fragile being of 1,100 grams. A healthy, vibrant, energetic child. When he saw me, Patricia must have said something because he smiled and waved. Nurse Helena. Patricia stood up, hugged me tightly. You haven't changed. And you look beautiful, I replied, but my eyes couldn't stop staring at Ethan. Ethan, Patricia said, kneeling beside him. This is the nurse who took care of you when you were very little. Remember, I told you. He nodded seriously, then held out his little hand to me. Thank you for taking care of me when I was a baby. I held his hand, tears forming. It was an honor, Ethan. We spent 2 hours together. Patricia told me about the 3 years. How smart, curious, and loving Ethan was. You know what's amazing? Patricia said softly, as Ethan was distracted by drawing. Sometimes he says strange things. Like, the mommy from heaven came to see me in my dream. Or the mommy who smells like flowers, helps me sleep better. He never knew Amanda, never smelled her lavender perfume, but he describes it so precisely. Before we left, Ethan hugged me. And when he did, I felt it again, just for a moment, that scent of lavender. Like if you're emotional, the final part will destroy you. If I could summarize everything I've learned in 43 years, it would be this. Medicine is wonderful, but limited. The equipment measures heartbeats, oxygen, brainwaves, but they don't measure love. They don't measure connection. They don't measure the strength of a soul that refuses to abandon those it loves. Children are more sensitive to the spiritual world. Hospitals are portals. Places where the veil between life and death is thinner. We are never alone. Never. There is always something greater accompanying us. Call it God, the universe, energy, love. A mother's mission never ends. Amanda Miller proved that. She never held her son, but she took care of him in the way she could. And when she was sure he would be safe and loved, she finally found peace. My name is Helena Marie Anderson. I am 65 years old, with 43 years in the profession. In a few months, I will retire. But before I leave, I wanted to leave this record. This testimony that there is more between heaven and earth than our philosophy can dream of. Ethan Miller is 8 years old today. He is a healthy, intelligent, loved child. In the depths of his soul, he knows. He knows he was loved from the very first second. He knows his mother never abandoned him. He knows that love is stronger than anything, even stronger than death. Se essa história tocou seu coração, por favor, inscreva-se no canal, ative as notificações, dá some like e compartilhe com alguém que precisa de esperança. E se você trabalha na área da saúde e já vivenciou algo inexplicável, por favor, me conte nos comentários. Suas histórias são importantes, precisam ser ouvidas. Nos vemos no próximo vídeo. Lembre-se, o amor nunca morre. Meu nome é Helena. Essa foi minha história. Obrigada por fazer parte dessa jornada comigo.